everyone. Welcome to Alpha English Podcast, the place where learning English becomes simple, fun, and powerful.
If you want to speak English with confidence, understand real conversations, and improve faster than ever, you're in the right place.
Every episode, we break down English in the easiest way possible.
So get ready to learn, grow, and level up your English.
Let's start the episode. Okay, so before we even hit record properly, do you want a coffee? I only have some milk left in the fridge, so if Luke wants any, he better speak now.
Wait, say that again?
Say what again?
You just said some milk and then any in like the same breath. You didn't even notice.
Did I?
Yes! I only have some milk left if Luke wants any. That's literally today's lesson, Lisa.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. Okay, wow. See, this is exactly why we do this podcast, because this stuff is so natural to us that we say it without thinking.
And that right there is exactly what we're talking about today.
So today we are talking about determiners, specifically some, any, much, and many.
Which sounds like a boring grammar topic on paper, but trust me, you already use these words 50 times a day.
Exactly. And this topic matters so much because these four little words trip up learners at every single level. Beginner, intermediate, even advanced. I've had students who could discuss politics fluently and still say, I don't have much friends.
Ooh, painful.
So stick with us today because by the end of this episode, this is going to feel automatic to you, the way it just did with me a minute ago, accidentally.
And hey, quick thing before we dive in. If you're enjoying these episodes, hit subscribe. It genuinely helps more learners find the show. And drop a like if you've ever made one of these mistakes yourself. I know I have.
Okay, let's get into it.
So let's start really simple. Some and any. What's the actual rule here?
Okay, the classic textbook rule is this. We use some in positive sentences and any in negative sentences and questions.
Give me an example.
Sure. I have some apples. That's positive, so some. I don't have any apples. Negative, so any. Do you have any apples? Question. Any.
Okay, that seems pretty clean, actually.
It is clean until real life gets involved.
Uh-oh.
Because here's the thing nobody tells beginners. When you're offering something or asking for something politely, we actually flip the rule and use some in a question.
Wait, in a question?
Yes, like, would you like some coffee? Not, would you like any coffee? That sounds strange, almost cold.
Huh. So if I'm offering my friend a snack, I'd say...
Do you want some biscuits?
Right, because I'm expecting the answer to be yes, basically. I'm being friendly.
Exactly. That's the key. Some in a question usually means you're offering something or you expect a yes. Any in a question is more neutral, just genuinely asking, not knowing the answer.
Okay, let me try a summary. So, normal statements, positive uses some, negative uses any. Genuine questions use any, but offers and polite requests use some, even though it's a question.
Perfect summary.
Okay, real talk though, I actually made this exact mistake once, years ago, teaching a class in Spain.
Oh no, what happened?
I was trying to be polite, and I asked a student, "Do you have any problem with this?" Trying to check if the homework was too hard.
Okay.
And he looked genuinely offended because "do you have any problem" sounds confrontational, like I'm challenging him. What I should have said was, "Do you have some kind of problem?" gently, or honestly just, "Is everything okay?"
That's such a good example because it shows this isn't just grammar, it's tone. The wrong word can change how kind or how harsh you sound.
Exactly, and nobody warns you about that in a textbook.
You know, I think about learners who message us after every episode saying things like, I've studied English for 6 years and I still second-guess myself on some versus any. And I just want to say, that hesitation you feel right before the word comes out of your mouth, that's not a sign you're behind. That's actually your brain doing careful, real work. Native speakers don't think about this rule consciously either. We just feel it after years of hearing it. You're building that same feeling right now, one episode at a time.
Yeah, that pause before you speak, that's not failure. That's learning happening in real time.
Exactly. Okay, ready for round two?
Let's do it. Much and many.
So this pair is about quantity, but the trick is knowing which nouns they go with.
Right. Many goes with countable nouns, things you can count one by one. Many books, many cars, many friends.
And much goes with uncountable nouns, things you can't count individually. Much water, much time, much money.
Which sounds simple, but the mistake I hear constantly is people mixing them up with friends and money for some reason.
Much friends, I hear that one weekly.
Weekly?
Weekly! Because friends feels like a big, warm, uncountable idea emotionally, like love or happiness. But grammatically, friends is countable. One friend, two friends, three friends. So it's many friends, never much friends.
And money is the opposite trap. People think, well, I can count money, $1, $2, so they say many money.
Right, but money itself as a general concept is uncountable. You'd say much money or, more naturally in everyday speech, a lot of money.
Which brings up something. In real conversation, do people even use much and many that often?
Great question. Honestly, in positive statements, native speakers usually say a lot of instead of much or many. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of money. Much and many in positive sentences can sound a little formal, even old-fashioned.
So when do we naturally use much and many?
Mostly in questions and negatives. How many books do you have? How much time do we have? I don't have much time. There aren't many seats left.
Okay, so quick summary, many for countable, much for uncountable, and in everyday positive sentences, a lot of usually sounds more natural than much or many.
That's exactly it.
Okay, I have another confession from my teaching days.
Oh, here we go.
I once told a room full of teenagers, I don't have much friends here, on my actual first day living abroad, trying to bond with them. And one kid, very seriously, raised his hand and corrected me in front of everyone.
No.
Yes! 14 years old, absolutely fearless, just goes, Teacher, many friends, not much friends. And the whole class just erupted.
Honestly, that's kind of beautiful, though. He felt confident enough to correct his own teacher. That's what real learning looks like.
It humbled me, for sure, but it also stuck with me. I never made that mistake again after that.
Okay, let's put it all together with a quick practice moment, because I think hearing it fixed helps more than just hearing the rule.
Go for it.
Wrong. I don't have many time. Correct?
I don't have much time because time is uncountable.
Perfect. Wrong. Do you want any tea as an offer?
Do you want some tea? Because it's a friendly offer.
Exactly. And wrong. There isn't much apples left.
There aren't many apples left because apples are countable.
See, when you hear it corrected like that, it just clicks differently than reading a rule in a book.
Can I bring up one more real, slightly embarrassing situation? Because I think it shows how this connects to actual life, not just grammar exercises.
Please.
So imagine you're at someone's house for dinner, and the host asks, "Would you like some more?" And you're actually stuffed, but you don't want to be rude. What do you say?
No, thank you. I've had plenty. Or, I don't think I could eat any more, honestly.
Right. And notice even there, any slides in naturally once it becomes negative. I couldn't eat any more.
See, that's the pattern holding steady even in casual, real situations. It's not just classroom language.
Okay, before we take a short break in the conversation, let's do one more of those honest moments, because I know some of you listening are the type who write these words down in a notebook, rewind this exact section, and quietly practice saying the sentences out loud alone in your room.
Yeah.
And I want to say directly to that person, the one rewinding right now, that's not something to feel embarrassed about. That quiet, repetitive practice when nobody's watching, that's the real engine of fluency. Nobody sees it, Nobody claps for it, but it's exactly why one day these words will just fall out of your mouth correctly without you even having to think about it.
The way they fell out of your mouth by accident at the start of this episode.
Exactly. Full circle. All right, I think that's a great point to pause this part of the episode.
We've covered some versus any, much versus many, the polite offer exception, and a few real mistakes from Luke's teaching disasters.
Hey, disasters is generous. I prefer learning opportunities.
Sure, Luke.
Pause 1 second. If you want us to continue with more examples, common mix-ups, and a few trickier situations, just type continue and we'll pick up exactly where we left off.
See you in a moment.